Good morning, everyone, or afternoon as it may be, depending on where you are right here, right now. I know that I am here where I am, but I don't know where you are. If I knew where you were, you would be where you are, but you aren't where you are. So you are where you were when you were where you are right now. All right. So shall we? And let us. And let us shall. And we shall let. Let us go. But also, let us turn up and pee, or, whatever the saying may be. Bear with me while I blurp derp a few things. And I just need to bring one thing more up here, and we are good to go. Hopefully, we will get some people up, 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 up in here. All right, so why are we here today? We are here for one simple reason, but one very simple, very good reason. I watched Venom Let There Be Carnage once more. I had watched it already, but I decided to sit down and watch again. After taking time to sit down and watch Spider-Man No Way Home, I thought that Venom Let There Be Carnage would be good to go back and revisit, especially with that post-credit scene that had been in Venom, and then kind of, I guess in a way, kind of retconned over in Spider-Man No Way Home, but not really. And also what that could mean for Venom in the MCU, or for Spider-Man in the Sony universe, or some some mismatch of the two. So I thought what we would do is we would sit down today, we would talk about it. I just need to share our screen right quickly here, and we will get down to it. If anyone has anything to say, or if you are hanging out in the thing and you want to hear anything in particular about Venom Let There Be Carnage, then please do let me know, and we will work on making that a reality in a few moments. Again, I'm just going to share our screen right quickly here to our usual areas. There. Yep, that's this is Facebook Messenger. Now we just need to share to the actual Discord and the actual Facebook. And then we will be ready to set go. Oh, I know why, because I'm in the wrong hub on there. So hopefully everyone is having a great day. Yo, what's up, Dukas? I wanted to get on here today and talk about Venom Let There Be Carnage. Because as I said, I just sat back down and watched it once again. I had a great time watching it. I like how they started out at the St. Estes school or home for unwanted children, which is actually a callback to a lot of the comic stuff. That's where Cletus actually was at St. Estes. When he was younger, he actually went back and burned it down. So being that they did that within the movie, definitely made a lot of sense. Also, I liked how they had Stan show up. Even though Stan had already passed by the time the movie was shot and everything, if you're watching very closely when he first goes in, when Venom and Eddie first go in to see Mrs. Chen, when he's looking for the chocolate and they go walking in, you see Venom take one of his tendrils and push back a magazine that's on the shelf and push it back into place, kind of straightening it up. And if you look very closely, you can see on the cover is a picture of Stan with the name Stan Lee written right next to it. So they still managed to squeeze him in there for this movie, which I thought was really good, because Stan's cameos were like one of the best parts of every Marvel movie, regardless if it had a direct impact on the story or anything, which most times it obviously did not. But it was just really good to see somebody that, that was basically the face of Marvel when it came right down to it. Yeah, I know that the characters are really where people go, but up until, like, Feige came in and kind of became the face of the MCU, the face that people knew, the voice that people knew. For me growing up, I remember hearing Stan on cartoons, Saturday morning cartoons back in the day. Um, he would always be doing the Spider-Man narration and stuff. So, being that even though he passed, they still managed to make sure there was an homage to him within this film, and it being in the Sonyverse and not in the MCU, I still really liked that they did that. Yeah, it's totally not the same without Stan. Um, but pardon, but I do like how they played that little homage. I like how they kind of they did a little bit more with the Venom symbiote. They kind of made the face a little bit nicer and everything. It looked a lot better in this movie than it did in the first Venom movie. But honestly, I totally liked both of them. The first Venom movie I really enjoyed. Venom is one of the characters who I really liked. Um, I followed him a lot in the 90s when he started having his own uh, the Lethal Protector series and everything. I followed him quite a bit during that time. So what happens in the movie is, oh yeah, same here in the MCU. Um, well, in the movie, obviously, Venom, well, Venom and Eddie are kind of like throughout the whole beginning part, they're fighting. Venom really wants to be the lethal protector. He wants to go out and be a superhero. He wants to use his powers. He wants to take out criminals and stuff like that. And Eddie really just kind of wants to not have anything to do with it. He wants to just live his life, or what he sees as his life, what he wants out of his life, and he just wants to kick back and chill kind of attitude. He wants to focus on his career. He doesn't want to be out fighting crime and all that. So it leaves Venom to well, puts the two of them kind of at odds with one another, which was really a cool way to show that off because you see the two of them kind of going up against each other quite a bit, and the fighting that they're doing, the breaking of everything in the apartment. You see like holes all over the ceiling, and Venom's supposed to be eating chickens, and he's supposed to be eating M&Ms, and there's just like M&Ms and chickens, like the whole place is just disgusting. And at this point, Eddie's supposed to be, he's making money. Um, he's already reported on Cletus and everything. He's gone in to meet Cletus for the first time, done the story, um, which I thought was kind of interesting how they did that. It really doesn't make a whole hell of a lot of sense for some of it, because if you think about it, Cletus wanted to basically, he said he wanted to come clean. He wanted to tell his side of the story. He wanted to do everything. And then Eddie goes and tells the story, but he doesn't tell about the aspect that Cletus was um, abused and everything as a kid, and that makes Cletus mad to the point where he breaks out of prison and wants to kill Eddie. It doesn't, that part of it doesn't make a hell of a lot of sense, but if you just kind of kick back and go with the flow of it, um, it definitely makes for a good showing. The fact that we see Eddie trying to repair his relationship with Anne and that not working out, him trying to repair his relationship or find a way to do his relationship with Venom, um, that really kind of reminded me. I don't know if anybody else noticed it, but it kind of reminded me of the Odd Couple. You know, eh, I'm probably most of you probably won't know what that is because most people are probably still kind of young for that. But Odd Couple was on back in the 70s. I think it was 60s and 70s. Um, and it was a pretty big TV show back in the day. And it just reminds me of that. You had the one neat freak living with the slob. Not that Eddie was ever really portrayed as a neat freak in the movie in the first place, in the first movie, but for sure, Venom is definitely more slovenly. It just kind of reminds me of that thing where you've got one roommate who's kind of just destroying everything, and another roommate who just wants to have a nice, quiet life. Um, I thought that the way they had them play off each other was really good. I really liked some of the little jokes that they put in there. You know, them like when Venom and him finally do split off, and he goes, the symbiote's going out, and he's like beating the shit out of his Ducati and tearing it apart. And then as he's down on the thing, he's jumping from person to person. And as he's in like one of the people, he just like reaches back and flips Eddie off. I just thought that was a lot of fun to watch. It was a really good little it's one of the shortest superhero movies around. Most superhero movies are around 2 hours. This one was 97 minutes. I believe Rise of the Silver Surfer was the only other one kind of in the Marvel scope of movies that was like 90 minutes or around there. Most everything else spent 2 hours. Um, it was, I believe, an uh, an hour and 37 minutes was the total runtime. So not really long. And then when he does get the symbiote, when he finally does get for getting put down, when Cletus is being strapped down, being given the lethal injection, and you see where um, the injection is going into him, and then the symbiote kind of pushes it back out of his body and back up the tube, and then just starts coming out everywhere. Um, my only wish was, I really wish they had a R rating there. That would have made that whole thing of him exploding out, and then the rampage that he goes on within the walls of um, the prison, and taking out all the guards and all that. That would have been a hell of a lot better of a showing if they had had him being in there and had it as an R-rated movie, because there was so much they couldn't do, so much they couldn't show. I mean, there was literally only one F-bomb in the entire movie, and it was like way, way back at the end. Um, I wanted to say a quick hey to Ninatella and go with him. For thank you guys for stopping into our stream and hanging with us over here on Twitch. I also want to thank anybody watching on YouTube and on our Facebook. Thank you guys all for coming in and hanging with us. The way that they did the Carnage symbiote, with it being most all red but having the black like around the mouth, that was perfect, because that reminded me a lot of what the symbiote looked like in the comic. And obviously they're not going to do 100% true recreation, but they did a really good job with it, I thought. And even still, like, Venom is not exactly like Venom looking right now. He's what we know him for on screen, but he's really not what he was in the comics. But I think this new portrayal is very good. I think with the CGI and everything that they're using, it seems to hold up pretty well, at least right now. We'll see as technology gets better if we're going to come to that point, like we've done with a lot of older movies where the CGI just does not look good anymore. I mean, at the time when it came out, for a lot of movies, it was really good at that moment, but things have just developed over the years, and I'm sure they're going to keep developing to the point that we're going to have some amazing computer-generated effects in the upcoming years. But as of right now, I think the biggest thing with everything is to just keep, try to keep practical effects as much as possible in a lot of movies. But when you come to things like superhero movies, practical effects aren't the best in there. So you just have to hope that the technology will keep up with everything and keep improving so that our CGI looks really good in movies. And I thought in this one it looked really good. Um, a lot of the scenes of Venom doing his thing really did not have that artificial feel that some of the scenes, even in some of the newer movies, have felt. You know, where sometimes, especially the more background characters, seem to just move not exactly true to human movement. They move okay, but it's not exactly, it doesn't exactly seem true to what a normal human would move or how a normal human would move. Um, so I think that we're going to keep getting better with that too, and I hope that that shows with the future uh, of these movies. Now, the other thing that was really good in this particular movie um, was the fact that they tied in so much of the comic book lore. They used Ravencroft. They used Saint Esther. They had Shriek in there. They had the Doctor at Ravencroft, who was actually the same Doctor who was helping Cletus. If you know anything about comics and Next and Carnage, um, they really did a pretty good job, and it looks as though toward the end there, when the cop is chasing after him, it looks like the cop might have gotten hit with the toxin symbiote, so we might be seeing him come back as a symbiote. That final battle was really good. The CGI was terrific. The fact that we get to see the sonics, the fire, we get to see everything that affects the symbiote used, but we see the symbiotes both fighting back. And again, we mirror the comic once more, because when we get to the part where the symbiote is away from Cletus, where the Carnage symbiote is no longer attached to him, we see Venom just pick the symbiote up and eat it. And that's actually very comic accurate, because that happened at one point in one of the comics where the symbiote was away from the host, and the Venom symbiote just takes him down it, and then he bites off Cletus's head. So that kind of makes it like, and of course Shriek got killed as well. So it seems like that's like the end of those characters. But then when you get to the end of the movie, Eddie is sitting there, and him and Venom have taken off. They've gone into hiding. They're down in Mexico. Bear with me just a moment. They're sitting on the beach, and Venom is literally running his toes through the sand. Really kind of funny, because at the beginning of the movie, he talked about how he wanted to have the wind in his hair and the sand on his face and all that good stuff. Right? Why is that? Not okay, no sound there. No sound there. So, it was really cool how they set that whole thing up with them being on the run, and then he's in the thing, he's laying down, he's in the room, and Venom is telling him how he's going to show him some of his knowledge, because he has 80 million light years worth of knowledge because of the hive mind that the symbiotes have. So he decides to impart Eddie with some of the knowledge, and as he's doing so, they're getting pulled into the MCU by the spell that Doctor Strange cast in No Way Home. So we actually end up seeing, at the end of Venom, we see Venom and Eddie in another room, like almost exactly like theirs, just in the MCU, with Spider-Man getting revealed on TV as being Peter Parker, and Venom seems to know something about that. And it's kind of just left there. And then there's no post-credit scene. There's only that mid-credit scene, so there's nothing else really in there. So you kind of end it. But then, as I said, I did watch Spider-Man No Way Home. So now we need to talk about having Venom in the MCU. Well, I believe that's going to come in a very simple way, because in Spider-Man: No Way Home, we find in one of the post-credit scenes, we find Eddie Brock and Venom down in Mexico at the place they were at. Now, I don't know why they got transported from where they already were, um, right to where they were, because I think that kind of, although all of the spider villains were actually supposed to have been killed, so but they were brought back right to being in New York. So I think the explanation is it didn't change their physical location within the world. It only changed where they were in a dimension. So wherever they were on their own Earth is where they ended up on our Earth, I think is the explanation that they're going to go with. So since Eddie and Venom were not in the States and were in fact down in Mexico at the time in hiding, when they got pulled over, it went right to there. So I think that's the explanation they're going to use, which actually makes a lot of sense. But we see him arguing with the bartender about, you know, what happened. He obviously in their world, in Venom's world, we don't have the Avengers and everything. So he's finding out all about this, and he's getting drunk and belligerent. And then just as they're getting ready to decide what to do, whether they should go and find Spider-Man or whatever, they're all of a sudden getting pulled back to their own universe because the second part of the spell now is taking effect, where Peter Parker is being forgotten about. But a piece of the symbiote ends up on the bar. Now, I don't know if they're going to do it right away in Spider-Man 4, but I do feel that this is setting up a black costume / symbiote, Spider-Man symbiote. I don't know if it'll be a trilogy or if it'll just be a one-off in one of the movies, where he gets the costume and has it throughout, and then gets it, and Brock gets it at the end. Whatever the version of Brock is here in this universe, or if they'll even do that, being that in the MCU we have seen the Venom symbiote merge with other people, we could have, and being that this Venom symbiote is from another universe and has that hive knowledge and everything, it is possible that when he merges with Spider-Man and he gains all that knowledge and everything, that then when he leaves Spider-Man, or when Spider-Man forces him off, that we could see him go to somebody like Matt Gargan, who was the Scorpion in the comics, but also at one point was a Venom host. Also, we could see it go to, like I said, an Eddie Brock variant within our MCU timeline. But the one that I'm kind of the most interested in seeing, but not with our current version, but seeing someone like Agent Venom. And typically in the comics, Agent Venom has been Flash Thompson. But I really don't like the Flash Thompson that we have in the MCU. I feel he's much more of a... He's not that bully, that big cocksure guy that he is in the comics. He's very much more of a cyberbully type, a rich kid, a spoiled kid who just wants his own way. And it doesn't feel like it would fit with the Agent Venom persona that I think is where they would like to go with it. So what I'm thinking is going to happen is they might either find someone else as a host for the Agent Venom, or, like I said, we could see an Eddie Brock come into the MCU. Chances are I don't believe it would be Tom Hardy. I would like to see if they're going to do it. I would like to see somebody I would like to see them set something up, some kind of stakes between Brock and Peter, or Brock and Spider-Man, prior to the whole thing happening, prior to Brock getting his hands on the suit, and then knowing and being able to, are they going to make it more comic accurate where Venom can actually, because he was once bonded with Spider-Man, he can actually evade the spider sense? Are they going to have it so that Venom is going to be more of a just a straight up bad guy, or is he going to do the same thing? Is he going to have a character arc in the MCU where he becomes a lethal protector, an anti-hero, or something like that? Or does the MCU just not have a place for that? Um, MCU is supposed to be a little bit brighter, not as dark and all that. So I wonder sometimes how far they're going to be willing to go with some of these things. But I think that given enough time, we should see a very good representation, especially with the current CGI and what they've already done with the Venom symbiote in the Venom movies. I think that when it actually does come over to the MCU, whether it be in the next movie, or I believe it will be sometime in the next few movies, because I don't think they're going to want to go too long without introducing the black costume, the symbiote, and everything into the MCU, because there's a lot of stuff going on right now that is going to be more multiversal, and that will allow them to bring in people like Null and a couple other, major characters who we've been seeing in the comic books, but have not been so much in the MCU, and that could definitely give us a very good way to open up the more of the cosmic, more of the universal threats, because obviously with Null and all of the other symbiotes, you have a very huge backstory. You have these things going from planet to planet for years, just trying to take over, and so this could be really good. We could see Venom start off in the Spider-Man movie and then move on to his own area. Or if we do get a Agent Venom type thing going on, we could see them drafted into Shield or Sword, or even an Avengers type team. This is definitely something that could build a lot more within the MCU. And I hope that they really take their time and really develop how this is going to go forward. As I've said before, I've been highly impressed with what they did with No Way Home, because up to that point, I really didn't like the Spider-Man in the MCU. He felt like he was always dependent on everyone else. With what they did in No Way Home, it definitely opens it up a lot more, and I think this is the perfect time to see that, especially now that we did it in the movie, in the No Way Home post-credit scene. It's the perfect time to have that Venom come in, because most of what happens in the comics, the reason why he kind of goes with the Venom symbiote for a while, the reason why he's not so ready to just get rid of it, is not just the power that he gets from it, but also initially when he first gets it, he's in a bad place. And that's where we have him right now. He's just lost everything. So this would be, I think, even though I don't think they're going to do it within the next, in Spider-Man 4, that would actually be the best place to do it, because if you could get it in on Spider-Man 4, if you could get, the Venom symbiote in, you could do a much bigger story arc with it. You could start it in 4, have him get the suit, build that thing with Brock, or not even have him get the suit even at the beginning. Start the movie with him doing other things, and by the end of the movie, have him get the suit, and then in part 5, Spider-Man 5, then we can focus on the suit and him getting rid of it because of finding out that it's a symbiote and everything. That would also be a good way to introduce some more people into the MCU, depending on how long it's been. how long between movies, because depending on when they give him the symbiote and when they start doing that, they could introduce the Fantastic Four, because he could need to go to Reed Richards for help in getting the suit off or finding out what the suit is. He is still Spider-Man. We know that nobody knows that he's Peter Parker, but people still know who Spider-Man is. Spider-Man is still known for working with the Avengers. Spider-Man is still known for doing all of his stuff. So this could be a good way to bring in a lot more characters as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. I just wanted to come on and talk a little bit about Venom, Let There Be Carnage, and the implications of that on the greater MCU. So if you guys liked this, please go down to the bottom and click that thumbs up like button, and don't forget to subscribe. If you're over on Twitch, don't forget to follow me, and if you're on YouTube, don't forget to do everything. You know, check me out all over the place too. Check me out on YouTube and on Twitch. We're gonna go live every Wednesday at noon with a new movie / TV series to discuss. So I hope you guys are enjoying this, because I know I am. I'll talk to y'all later. Ozzy out. Bye, guys.